British Realist Theatre, the new wave in its context, 1956 to 1965, was a book written by Stephen Lacey in 1995 and touches on the type of theatre and how it was influenced by the milestones achieved in Britain in those 11 years. The way the piece is written is fairly confusing. The specific chapter I wanted to focus on was the chapter 1953 and 1956, a comparison of two cultural moments. Now, don't get me wrong, it did look at two different cultural moments in the shape of the Queen's coronation in 1953, and then the Anglo-French invasion of Suez Canal in 1956. However, the critical reading about British Realist Theatre seemed to miss out the key factor, and that was theatre. I mean, the chapter served as a good historical lesson about the two cultural moments, and it did do what the title of the chapter sets out. But on the other hand, I found it drab and boring and unapproachable because it wasn't what I was expecting to learn. I didn't learn about British Realist Theatre. I mean, the applications of the chapter, however, they met the requirements expected from a comparison of two cultural moments. The text refers to how the struggles that emerged from these moments and the ideologies that conservative explanations of change had been suppressing were allowed to come to the surface and allow for political advance that had begun to rise in the late 50s, as well as a change to contemporary theatre. The flaws in this chapter aren't anything drastic, and the text ties in with the rest of the hypothesis and the critical reading. However, when looked at as a chapter alone, the reading serves as more as a history lesson at school. It explains what happens during these times and gives context to the two time periods it explains, being 1953 and 1956, and comparing the two in their political situations and how high British morale was at the time. But on the other hand, the text does not explain any further what the writer is trying to achieve as a whole. I mean, the text wants to explain how British theatre's role contests the mythology of the period and how political stances played a huge part in how theatre was perceived in 1950s, but mostly goes on about the left and right-wing political values of the time.